which is a new event series we're debuting in Nairobi Garage. Today actually is World Tourism Day, which we are celebrating by having a conversation about local travel and what tourism now looks like in this post-COVID-19 climate. So ladies, tell us, what has been the true effect of the pandemic on the tourism industry, and especially what effects have there been that travelers may not be privy to?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, thank you. So I'll speak as a traveler, and then she can speak as an expert in the travel industry. As a traveler, I have always loved traveling. I travel for work, so a lot of I think all my employers, I have like 40% travel. I travel for leisure, either alone or also with my children. So I think just the fact that there was restricted movement curtailed so much travel. So with organizations, many of the meetings that we used to hold, many of the training, so all those came down. So with the travel industry, of course, hotel providers who offer those services for when we travel for work suffered a major loss. But at a personal level, for someone who lives in the outdoors, I think it affected me a lot mentally, because then here I am cooped up in some space in Nairobi, in my home, and I just there's this thing we call Wanderlust. It's the desire. It's like restless legs, and it's very, very real when you curtail that. Just the fact that you can't go to spaces that you wanted to go, because even in health we say a change is very good in terms of mentally. So just moving from where you are to another space gives you a break in terms of your mental capacity.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think the numbers that I heard circulating a few months ago was about 2 million people unemployed since COVID-19 in the tourism value chain. Let me put it that way. So that is what you say. It's not only tourism, it's the whole service sector, right? That has been affected tremendously. And we've never seen such an impact, especially not in tourism. Because while tourism, with the 2007 elections, with the terrorist attacks and so on, we've seen certain impacts, yeah, and quite tremendous disruptive impacts, but they didn't last long. Now all of a sudden, we've got globally an impact that you can't just wish away, it's there. The restrictions are there. And all of a sudden you're taking away really the living of people, right? And not only that, the psychological impact is tremendous, yeah? And we've all seen that. All of a sudden you're stuck at home, you can't go to work, you can't travel. But what we've also seen since the beginning of the pandemic, people were still, and you can see that in regular surveys that have been done, yeah, you can see people want to travel. They actually spend quite a large amount of time on the internet, now if you're talking about the international market, yeah, researching holidays, yeah, and that is now slowly, yeah, moving back towards a certain normal, yeah. However, you can also see a preference in terms of, for the traditional target market for Kenya, you can also see a preference in terms of staying locally or regionally, and that is not only a preference but often also due to regulations still. Yeah, so Kenya just got off the red list for the UK, right, which is one of the big target markets. Yeah, so this all has impact, but now if we look on the trends that we can see in terms of consumer behavior, yeah, so we see now, okay, wait a minute, there's a changing trend on the Western international markets, because now it's going more towards, you know, what are the impacts? What am I doing? Is it safe? Yeah. Can I travel? What happens if insurance plays a role as well? Yeah, so we'll see that the international market is going to take quite a while to come back. Now, Kenya, compared to other countries in the Eastern African states, actually has been very, very reliant on the international market, and very little been looking so far on regional and domestic. And it kills me every time when I've been working in different regions in the world, right? And domestic tourism is always something people don't want to talk about. Yeah, it's not seen as a potential and so on. Now with COVID, we've seen a reverse of that trend. All of a sudden everybody talks about domestic and regional travel, but a lot of people don't know how to address that market. Yeah, because you need to have a very clear client profile to understand who you're marketing to and what your products should be. Yeah. The other challenge that Kenya has is that it relies traditionally on safari, wildlife, and beach. Yeah, so the diversification of products and going into new areas like sports, educational tourism, health tourism, etc. is, that's coming now because the change has been so disruptive that people are forced to change.
That's true.
The government is shifting, and not just in Kenya itself, I'm sure even in other East African countries there is a shift in tourism away from focusing on international travel as a main revenue stream, and now we're focusing on how do we get domestic travel to sort of boost the industry right now. So other than that shift, have you noted anything else that's different that the pandemic has brought, and now there's a kind of shift in the tourism industry that's different? Something that wasn't there before, and now is there a lot of, you said a good example is a lot of things have moved to the digital space. So before you go to a travel agent, you sit down, they map out this is where you go, this is where you stay, but now you have to do most of that online, and most of that communication is done either through social media actually or through email, right? So other than that, it moving to digital and the focus on now local tourism. Is there anything else that we've noted that's unexpected?
Unexpected, not so much, but I'd say hopefully a trend that continues, which is the trend towards more sustainability. Yeah, which is, I said it earlier, a word that I don't like to use. It's been used so often, and often people just associate it with environmental impacts, right? And it's not only that. Yeah, it's about responsibility. Yeah, as a tour operator, for example, how do I work with my staff? How do I treat them? How do I pay them? Yeah, do I incentivize them? How do I work with my supply chain? Yeah. What do I do to contribute in minimizing my environmental impacts? Yeah. So how do I communicate actually with the consumer? Yeah. Am I being responsible? Am I speaking the truth? Yeah. Because if you look, for example, at brochures, quite often you see
cliches.
Yeah, exactly. Stereotypes and not the right kind of information. So you see now in all the surveys, there are reports from Booking.com and so on, you see that push towards sustainability, and push towards we want to see that we actually have an impact. Yeah, and price even for the international market plays a role. Yeah, but people are looking at it more, and I always say, you can look at a crisis like this as the glass half empty or glass half full.
Yeah.
Yeah, so now we're seeing new products developing because of that. Yeah. Is it, I think certain TripAdvisor, Booking.com, Google now has introduced a logo. So if you are looking for sustainable hotels, it will actually mark that on the search website. Yeah. So there is a lot happening in that regard, and I think that is a move that I can only really, really support. Yeah. And it's still a niche market, but it works. And digitalization, hate that word, it really contributes to that, right? But what we also see now, I mean, looking at Kenya and East Africa, yeah, there's a change now where people are saying, okay, let's look regional, yeah. And I know that a lot of tour operators do that, who traditionally only worked in Kenya, have started basically branching out over the years. But now there's a real push for it, also in offering cross-border products, so regional products, yeah. So I go to Kenya, I go to Tanzania, I go to Rwanda, for example. And there's a push now to market East Africa as a destination. So that's quite a change, yeah. So we're seeing change on different levels, yeah. The challenge, I guess, in many ways is the implementation and really kind of, you know, how do I get access now, for example, to a tour operator in Ethiopia, yeah, who's reliable, yeah. How can I partner up with someone in Tanzania? Do I have the knowledge there? What kind of products should I actually be looking at?
I'm curious to know, what are the needs across the sector, across the tourism sector, that must be addressed if we reimagine tourism at the domestic level? You said one of them is like how we are communicating about local travel. So we shift away from sharing travel as something that international guests are doing locally and try and communicate that, oh, even Kenyans can travel. So how we sort of, can I say, market local travel can be one thing. And like you said, digitalization of pretty much the entire process of registering and planning a trip and until you finish your trip and are back home. Those are two ways. Is there any other way that we can sort of meet the needs to focus more on domestic travel by reimagining things that we've previously been doing that we can change?
Yes, I was sharing earlier with my colleagues that we are a very price sensitive market as for the domestic market. So people look at the price first before looking at what's the experience behind it. So just having, I know I've seen innovative ways of people having the lipa pole pole, basically pay in advance. And I've seen groups actually, and I think women are very good at it. I saw a group that started serving last year, September, for a Dubai trip. And they were sharing the experience, and they said, you know what, everyone says, yeah, minutes, and then of course when it trickles down to, okay, so this is the cost and this is how much you're going to pay. Eventually they came from like 200 people in a WhatsApp group to around 10. But those 10 went, yeah? And I think just telling people, of course there's some costs that you can't control, but that there are ways in which you're able to save. And I think I've seen financial institutions also coming up with packages that you can take an advance or you take a loan and do that. The other thing that I see that is different is that there are some experiences that are very cliche, that don't speak to us. So I was talking to them about our hierarchy of needs. Food is number one. Travel is usually, it's the first thing to cut out of your budget if you really have things that are tight. So if you're talking about experiences like, let's say, adopting an elephant, someone would be like, I have relatives who are going hungry. Why am I adopting a whole elephant on this side? So how do we put experiences for the local market that speak to them? Like going to the community and helping put up a classroom, that's a community service. People want to feel they've given out to a fellow human being first before animals. And it's the truth. People value life, human being life, and then animal life. How do we also encourage, and we spoke about it, the clubs that used to be there when we were growing up, wildlife clubs, ecotourism, education on ecotourism, because I have a small place that I opened up as an Airbnb, and I tried to put in the value of ecotourism. Like we don't use single-use plastics, we have upcycled glass and stuff like that, and that comes at a price. But when you sell it to the markets, your general market, people are like, but if you go to this other place, it's half the price of what you're offering. So how do we make people appreciate that the sustainability that you're talking about? What is it trickling to? Because we look at tomorrow, we don't look at the next generation to come. So we have to have a lot of awareness and sensitization around what does it mean to be sustainable, yeah, and how does it feed not just to the tourism sector, but to so many other things, the kind of crops we grow, you know, we should go back to our indigenous crops. We should, you know, reduce the use of fertilizers and, you know, things like diapers, menstrual hygiene products. It's such a wide topic, but people are seeing it in silos of, okay, we're talking about tourism, so this is a space of ecotourism. How does it relate all over? And I think this is where Barbara comes in with her expertise to help create awareness when we talk about this facility that has this logo. I will tell you for sure, Kenyans are not looking at that Google logo. Kenyans are looking at the price first. And then if the price is right, it doesn't matter. Yeah. So how do we start changing that mind shift?
Yeah, and the change of mind shift always takes time, right? You'll see it more, and I think what you also need is a differentiated marketing strategy.
Yeah.
When you're a tour operator, for example, here, or when you are a hotel or a lodge, who am I looking at? Yeah, who do I want to attract? How can I, for example, work with seasonality? Yeah, so high season, yeah, I may have higher prices. However, if I go into low season, how can I actually make up some packages that appeal more to a different target group, and so on? So you can play with it, yeah. And again, if you go into other products, you know, and really interesting things now that are popping up. There is a work camp, so to say, for children with a traveling telescope. Yeah. There's a bamboo planetarium in Nairobi. It doesn't cost much, but it's really educational.
Where is that?
Riverside Drive.
Oh,
It's
nice.
really cool.
I've never heard of it. Oh, I've never heard of that.
Yeah.
Okay.
So you see, there are new things popping up now. Yeah, there are basically a number of camps now who offer educational trips. You know, bring your children, depending on the age, and you do kind of little workshops in wildlife survival and so on. But the same for tour operators. You know, do you bring your people, for example, to agricultural projects, yeah, social projects? Yeah, diversify. I mean, get out of that traditional thinking of, you know, my people want to do safari. Yeah, maybe, you know, I can do 2 days safari and 3 days something else, right? There's so much cultural history here as well. You know, there's richness here. There's history. Yeah, there's the natural environment for any kind of extreme sports we talked about, sports adventure, you know, that kind of thing. So you have actually a much wider range of potential services and products. Yeah, people just tend to go into this is what sells, and that is why people are coming here. But now if you look at your regional and your domestic market as well, you kind of go, okay, what can be actually interesting?
Thank you so much. I don't know if there's anyone who wants to chime in and just share the experience.
So I found this experience, the planetarium experience, and I went there. It's in like the guy lives on in the same place, and then in the garden, in the compound, he set up this little house made out of bamboo and all. And I'm not sure what I was expecting, but it still blew me away. That I'm like, okay, because you're just walking around a path, you're not seeing anything. You're like, where is this place? What is it? Yeah. And I walk down there and I see this, and they don't even allow you to enter in first. They're like, you wait when they're ready, when everyone's there, you walk in together. And like, they've designed it to suit that. Like the beds are you're not seated like this. You are seated while you're reclining because they're projecting the stars above you in a dome. So just when they thought about the small elements as well, that was really nice. Like it created the experience. And and they created the night sky with all the stars. explained how the moon, the line the moon moves in, and why the different star signs are what they are, where they are placed, what they look like, justifying all of that. It was actually beautiful. If anyone else gets a chance as an evening free, there's so much to learn from it. Even if you are not into astronomy, it's still just a fun experience. Or take it as an opportunity to impress your date. But like, go there.
As a travel agency, like he says, I would like to agree with him. So right now we are shifting from from a model whereby people come to us to book, to providing value and destinations and packages that add value to our clients, as opposed to just putting together packages that make us money. So we're like, what would they gain from this trip, and then we're packaging around that.
In Kenya there are hidden gems, as in places where even like today I learned about, I even had to Google because I never knew there's something like that in Kenya. Yeah, so people like to get new experiences, like every day you don't want to see, because people used to go to outside the country because mostly they travel around the country, so they want something extra outside the country. So once the tourism sector is focusing on the hidden gems, people start to know, recently we found out there's in Samburu and Amboseli, there's a very nice property. It's called not the elephant, it's called Elephant Gorge, something like that. It's so beautiful. I never knew something like that existed. So when you show our clients that as much as you want to go to Amboseli, to the normal people that you used to, you give them a new experience where they'll enjoy, and of course maybe by word of mouth their friends or family would like to go there as well. Like he said, like when you tell somebody I went to this place, I enjoyed it, maybe you can as well go. And even in the regional sector, regional area, we found that recently there's a very nice lodge in Uganda. It's called Aramaga Travel Lodge. It's so beautiful. It's like set on a Rift Valley space, high on the mountain, and then it's not the normal lodge that you'll see. It's pods, like it has like a 360 view of the mountains, and the sky is like above, as in it's so beautiful. So when you show our clients that there's, as much as you like to travel abroad, the regional sector has a lot to offer. Yeah.
If there's nobody else, I think we'll end there. Thank you so much for your time, ladies. This has been amazing. I really look forward to having more conversations around this.